Alright guys, today's video is about the GameSir Kaleid. No, not this GameSir Kaleid. No, not this GameSir Kaleid. Why is there so many GameSir Kaleids? Hi, I'm Clef and you're watching Game Tech Talk. This product was sent for review, all opinions are my own, and GameSir has not seen this video prior to you guys seeing it. So in the box, pretty straightforward, you have the controller, a braided cable wire, a washing cloth, nice touch, and a 14 days free Game Pass card, manual, and that's it. First of all, you have Hall effect, right? So for both your sticks and triggers, so we're talking magnet rather than potentiometers, so less risk of drift, dead zone. Next is what they call a tactile cushioned face buttons. I think that cushion is not necessarily to dampen the noise or the actuation, but rather to give more of a pushback effect, and that's quite pleasant. It does give a nice feel in terms of the buttons. Now the D-pad and shoulders do not have that cushion, and it is quite obvious in feel. You know, they're both tactile as well, they feel good, nothing wrong there. Next on the list, they do advertise hair trigger. I do want to specify this is a software based hair trigger. Some controllers have that little notch to limit the distance. This is not what we have here. Because we are using Hall effect triggers, the dead zone is extremely small, and the response with which the hair trigger activates when you put that feature on is really good. Like, you barely touch it and it actuates. It has its own software that you can install both for Windows using the Microsoft Store, or you can also install on your Xbox, and you have the quick profile switch in here as well, which is very convenient because some of the key strength of this controller is the ability to make it your own, to customize it based off of the games. You don't necessarily want to go back into the software, so by having different profiles, you're able to quickly switch on the fly. One thing that I think is particularly amazing, and this is something you'll find in the software, is that, okay, so if you've seen a couple reviews on controllers, you probably know that you'll have two different outcomes, where the circle is full and exact, or where the triggers go past. And for the longest time, a lot of people were seeking that circle, and you have a few people in the community that was very adamant about not wishing for these things, because when we're looking at raw inputs, it's supposed to go past the circle. Now, there are a few games that actually will take those readings into account to move your character at a certain speed, but it's rare. There's more to this than just the behavior of your characters in games. And the fact that GameSir gives you the ability in the software to check that little raw input is such a game changer. Probably the number one feature that we've seen on this controller. I'm busy enough as it is, so I don't know of any controller that does that, but at least in my testing experience, it is the first time I encounter a feature like that. And if you are a brand and you're not GameSir, I strongly encourage that you copycat what GameSir did, because this is a great move for gamers. So the back buttons that you have on this controller are the, what I want to call the wide style. You know, they're not those little buttons or the paddles. I would prefer having 4 in the back. Damn! If possible, but 2 will do. And, you know, I like that shape. I prefer that shape to button styles. But if I'm being honest, I actually make use of the paddles. I know a lot of people don't care for them. I actually make use of them pretty much all the time. If I was in a competitive kind of mindset with my controller, the wide is better for quick reaction, because you have such a wide surface. And, you know, sometimes your palms are sweaty, or mom spaghetti, you're in that fight or flight kind of reflex and your fingers slip. By having the wide buttons, you never miss a click. So this is something I kind of appreciate. And of course, as you would expect, you can map them to different keys. And this is something that may surprise a few of you, and it's clear what GameSir is going for by collaborating with Microsoft on this one. You don't have macros. So if you were hoping to record macros on these buttons, you cannot do that. You don't have turbo on this controller. This is not what this is about. So this is the type of controller that Microsoft obviously is saying, okay, GameSir, we'll collaborate, but, you know, don't put me any of those turbo or cheating things, and because they know their audience, they know the competitive nature that happens on Xbox, and clearly that controller is designed for that. Of course, at the middle bottom of the front of the controller, you have the M button, which we'll touch base in a second. Just before we do that, let's talk quickly about rumble. And again, this is another thing, you know, we don't have HD rumble or anything like that. You do have rumble in the grip of the controller, both sides, but you also have rumble in your triggers. So you really lose no features compared to a Series X Series controller. Well, that's not quite true, but again, more on the pros and cons. But the rumble overall is pretty good. It's very well executed. It can be a little bit noisy if you crank it all the way up, but you can tweak that easily in the software. And in fact, there's a few tweakings that you can do that you don't see usually. For example, there's a feature in the software that you can make it so that whenever you push on your triggers, it will rumble the triggers. And the more you push, the more it will rumble. So it sort of creates an effect that is similar to what the Sony PS5 DualSense controller does. It doesn't feel the same because it's not the same technology, and it doesn't have any type of reaction to what you do in game, but this is a feature if you want to activate it. You can also synchronize them, so if you want that whenever your grips rumble, your triggers rumble as well, you can do that. So they do give you a little bit of flexibility in terms of how you're going to use a rumble on your controller. And I think, again, that this is a very nice touch, and a touch that you don't have with Microsoft's controller. So this is another plus for this product in particular. I mentioned the braided cable. It's 3 meters long. So for the people that like long, that definitely is the case here. I find it's a little unfortunate that it is a heavy braided cable. So, you know, it's not one of those that is super flexible. Of course, it is more than a regular rubber type cable, but not as much as those super light ones that you often find in the competitive mouse market on PC. I kind of wish it was a cable like that, but I would assume it's maybe more expensive to manufacture. Right, so let's get into the M button. You have a few things that you can do. You can switch the quick profile, as I mentioned. You hold M and then you do M plus A or B, X or Y. Then you have M plus LT or M plus RT if you want to activate the air trigger on the fly. If you do M plus the left stick left or right, you will cycle between RGB modes. Here's the thing that you may not know if you don't use the software. It will have 4 different RGB modes, but you can actually have more than 4 in the software. The difference is you can just save 4 different profiles to your controller, but the way that you customize those profiles, you have way more option in the software. So this is definitely something that if it is important for you, you absolutely must get the software, because otherwise you're not going to be able to customize that off of the controller itself. And then if you hold M plus left stick up and down, you can adjust the brightness of your RGB on the fly. There's way more that you can do on the software, and it's a very simple, intuitive, reliable software. I had 0 issue with it. It's not heavy on your computer. It's really, honestly, a great job from GameSir. I have seen no difference whether you use it on Xbox or you use it on PC. They behave the same. Pros, the value, amazing. At $49.99, it's a great value, and I'll have a coupon in the description. So if you want to save a little bit of money and you want to grab one for yourself, by all means, please make sure you use my coupon. It helps the channel. When it comes to other pros, the build quality. GameSir keeps on bringing out great products. The build quality is great, and I personally love the look of it. That smoky black that you can see through. I was shining a light the other day to try to see the rumble moving. It's really a good looking controller. Of course, another pro is if you don't care for an Xbox controller but you think it is an awesome product, you can get the T4 Kaleid multi-platform. Another pro, of course, Hall effect sensors and sticks, always great to have, and that gives you a controller that should last a much longer time. And then last but not least, one of the major pros is the variety of options that you have with the software. I think really pushes that controller to the next level. But there are cons. There is no battery. This is not a wireless controller, and it's kind of unusual in modern times to have controllers that are not wireless. You know, when it comes to performance, when it comes to pulling rate, of course, wired is always the better option, and this is no exception. But with that in mind, the fact that it doesn't have wireless, it does limit you to other areas where you can make use of that controller. And that goes for the multi-platform as well, by the way. And also, I think we have to keep in mind who this controller is for. You're just looking to refresh your controllers. It's still a great option because you have Hall sensor, the sticks are great, the buttons are, everything is great about this product. I do believe that the market that this is targeted for is for people playing competitive games. And if you are one of those people, you get 250 Hz because this is what is capped on Xbox, which is great. It's very reliable, and the 250 Hz that you get out of GameSir is like on point. It doesn't skip a beat. It's really, really reliable. So in terms of performance, that's definitely a pro I forgot to mention. Big one, in fact. But yes, in terms of the cons, definitely just the wireless aspect. I kind of wish it was there, and that's pretty much it. It's unfortunate that the different products are segmented, but I get it. Like, there's never a time that Microsoft would license a controller and that controller also works on Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I mean, I wish, but no. Hopefully that was insightful. Hopefully you have seen value in this video. Let me know what you think about the T4 Kaleid Xbox Edition. Do you play on Xbox? Are you trying to pick it up for PC? If so, are you gonna go for the multi-platform? Or maybe you have a completely different controller in mind. Let me know which one it is. But in the meantime, I actually would recommend that you watch the Nova Lite and Nova review that I made, which you can watch up here. And I do think that they are still amazing alternatives to this controller if you don't care for the Xbox portion. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.